Hi, class. I'm not really fond of podcasts, but I know that when more than half the class is going to be gone, it's something you can do to get your lecture, for you to see it at home or review it. So this is hopefully going to be a quick 30-minute synopsis of the cell tissues. You can listen to it, and you won't feel like you've missed a lot on Friday. I would just like to start by saying you guys are doing fine. I know it's strange not to have your textbook. I think last year when they taught the class, they only had the lab book, and me and Miss Amy are working diligently for you all to have not only the lab book, but to also have the textbook. So, in the meantime, by Friday, you should have one or the other, either the textbook or the lab book. And we will continually be in your corner. We want you to do well. We want you to be successful. We want you to enjoy learning about anatomy and physiology so you can go on and be great nurses, physicians, physical therapists. So know that. And this is not a class where we're trying to make it hard on you. Okay? Now, I do want to say, once you get your book, or books, we will expect a little bit more from you. We'll expect you to read the chapter before you come to class, because we'll only have 2, maybe 3 90-minute sessions with you over the material. And so if we have to go over things because you didn't read it, then we're going to miss out on lab and group activities. And remember, the first 3 chapters are really reviewed. You should have had this already in biology, short of the tissue cell information. Again, try not to make it hard. This is not a true college A&P course where you have to memorize and label like you will in college. It's more of the skimming of the top. Okay, so chapter 3 is over cells and tissue. And basically, we're learning the anatomy of the cell, getting a generalized feel of the cell theory, which is knowing that the cell is a fundamental building block of life. And you just need to know that the general structures that comprises a cell. There's 3 major regions of the cell, and the organelles and structures within them. These 3 regions are very important. What are they? They are the nuclear envelope, the nucleolus, and the chromatin. So those are the 3 general. You finished labeling this diagram. I'm going to give it back to you. Do you need to memorize it? No, but you need to know what's in a cell. Not a plant cell, an animal cell. You need to be able to generalize and differentiate between specific cell structures and what they do. The next part we talk about is cell physiology, function of the cell, and it starts with the active and passive and active transport. And remember that passive transport occurs with no energy or no ATP. So knowing that should help you with differentiating. Whereas active transport, you do have to have energy, you have to have ATP for that. On that same discussion under passive transport or diffusion, remember it goes from a low concentration to a high concentration. So if you have a large molecule, then It's going to go across that membrane where there's more substances or higher concentration. So think of your glucose and your sodium chloride. It's going to make the bag expand. We also talked just briefly, I know it sounds complicated, about the nucleus. What does the nucleus do? That is where our DNA is. The chromatin turns into chromosomes. It's a double-strand helix, and we're going to do a fun class project with that. And it's just the formation of our genetic material. And then you have the RNA, which helps communicate between that nucleus and all the other structures within the cell. So try not to make it too complicated. Then we jumped into tissue biology, tissue histopathology. And, just remember that, and I'm going to pull up a quick PowerPoint. Remember, you have 4 primary types of tissue cell: epithelial or epithelium, connective, muscle tissue, and nervous. This one, think of your skin, okay? Epithelial. Think of your skin when you think of epithelial. This starts generally on page 89 in your book, and also in your laboratory book. There's a great section on that, and I gave you a printout of that. It starts on page 38. And remember, we went through the types of epithelial cells. It sounds complicated, but try not to make it. You've got the simple epithelia, which is the simple squamous, the simple cuboidal, looks like a cube, and the simple columnar, and then you have the pseudostratified. Then you have the stratified epithelial, which is the stratified squamous, the stratified cuboidal and columnar, and the transitional, okay? And then last, your glandular epithelium. So in that area, if you look in your book, sorry about that. Okay, so let's look at those in a little bit more detail. So simple squamous is going to be used for secretion and filtration. So when you hear those terms, secretion and filtration, remember it's going to be a single layer, because it's simple, a single layer. So think of the alveoli of a lung sac. They are a single layer thick, and that is where we get our transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide. So single layer. So think of that. Then you've got cuboidal and columnar, which I kind of put together. That is going to be more secretion, absorption. That's where your cilia come in play. The cilia is the finger-like hairs, and that occurs in your types of tissue, like your lungs as well. It also occurs in kidney tubules, and occurs also in the mucus in the lungs, the goblet cells that produce mucus and move out bad material, and in the small intestines. So that's where that's at. Transitional, there's not really a simple transitional, so you can kind of, don't worry about that. But what do we know about transitional? We know that it stretches, right? So we'll get to that in a minute. If you have more than one layer, let's go back. Now we're not in simple, but we are in more than one layer. More than one layer means, what was the word we said? More than one layer means stratified, right? Stratified is more than one layer. I know, don't make it hard, okay? So under squamous stratified, it's for protection as well. It's not one cell deep, it's more than one cell. And so when you think of a squamous stratified, that you're going to be thinking about the lining of the esophagus, okay? If you're thinking about stratified cuboidal or colloid, excuse me, just going to kind of fast forward to that. There we go. There's the simple up top. Up here, this is stratified. Okay. So if you think of stratified cuboidal or columnar, try to find you a picture. Okay, that's going to be protective, okay? So it protects. It's rare in humans, so maybe you just forget about that one, right? Because it's found in a few large ducts or glands. The next one's a transitional stratified, and it helps again with stretching. So we think of this in any organ that stretches, like the bladder, and those types of tissues, as your bladder stretches. And next we have is the connective tissue. Well, I guess the glands are right here with epithelial real quick. The two major types of glands: endocrine, they're ductless. They secrete hormones like the thyroid, the adrenal, and the pituitary, and exocrine, which empty through ducts in the epithelial surfaces, your sweat and oil glands. Connective tissue. So when you think of connective tissue, this is going to be found in the body that helps protect, support, bind body tissues together. Connective tissue is going to be in tendons and ligaments, cartilage. This is where the extracellular matrix is, that is connective tissues are made up of different types of cells, varying cells, and it makes a matrix, okay? So in this area, your types are going to be bone connective tissue, cartilage, dense connective tissue, loose connective tissue, and blood. Okay, so those are the main areas. So when we say bone, I mean that should tell you bone, mainly osteocytes are in bone. In your book it shows a picture of that. The cartilage is included. Think about the cartilage on your rib cage. It's elastic, you have it cartilage all over your body. Dense connective tissue is going to be rows of fiber, such as a ligament and tendon that connects your collarbone and your humerus to your upper body. And they do talk about a loose connective tissue, which is it's going to have more cells and less fiber. And the three main types are areola, adipose, and reticular. You can read about those. When you hear areola, a tissue, that's going to be kind of intermixed in tissues of the body with collagen and elastic material. With your adipose, we all know we have fat around us. They use the example of the breast with fat tissue. And reticular is seen like in the spleen and where there's very vascular organs. Last is blood, and you're going to see quite a bit of vascular tissue and connective tissue with the blood. It surrounds it. It helps keep not only the blood from clotting, but it also helps with transport the blood system through vesicles and all that good stuff. I'm sorry, I'm the worst with PowerPoint slides. This is just going to review it. Over here, some good pictures. I had someone say I went too fast. You can go back and look at these PowerPoint slides anytime you want. They are on Blackboard, week number 3, for you to peruse through. Okay, muscle. Okay, muscle. What's it going to do? It's going to help contract, produce movement. You've got 3 types: skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. Skeletal is packaged by connective tissue sheets attached to the skeleton. Okay, so you have voluntary control, you have gross body movements. Everybody know what that means? Big body movements, like I'm moving my hand. Facial expression. Underneath my skin are tons of muscle tissue. And in a real anatomy and physiology class, you would have to label all the different muscles. So characteristics of these are your striation, your multinucleate, which is more than one nucleus, and long-shaped muscle tissue. So when they say striations, this is what they mean. See how it's striated here? Here is one under the microscope. You can see all the striations, and this is a picture of the muscle by the humerus. Cardiac muscle, it's involuntary, right? What's that mean? It moves without thinking about it. It's found in the heart. The heart is one big muscle that pumps blood and oxygen. It also has striations, 1 nucleus per cell, short, with some gap junctions. So this is what a cardiac muscle looks like. See the gap junctions here? And then this is what it looks like in a microscope. There are going to be pictures on your test. I'm looking to see if I can grab the test real quick. And so you will need to recognize a few of these. I'll pause it and find it here in a minute. So again, you have smooth muscle. This is also involuntary. It's found in organs like the heart, the uterus, the stomach, and blood vessels. It usually has peristalsis movement, no visible striations, 1 nucleus, and single or spindle-shaped cells. So this is what it looks like, and they have a picture of the gut. Some smooth muscle here, and you can see how it looks here. Nervous tissue, what is that for? That's for brain cells, irritability, conductivity, electrical impulses. Okay? So these look quite different. Nervous tissue, as you can see, looks kind of like an alien with an eye, right? So it looks a lot different because you have to have these neuron processes, these dendrites that stick out here. So this is what it looks like in a microscope of the brain and the spinal cord. You see this, you should say, oop, that is neurotissue. I don't know if I have this stretched out for you to see it. Let's see here. It just shows you the major function, characteristics, and body types here. Okay? A little review slide. Okay, so I'm in for 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead really quick and go over a few more pointers. I'm going to pause you just for a minute. Okay, one thing I am going to finish is going over this sheet here, Okay, so I'm going to kind of just read off the answers. We started working on it. Tissue is a group of similar cells specialized to perform a specific function. Number 1, lines body cavities, covers the body's external surface. That's epithelial or epithelium. Pumps blood, flushes urine out of the body, allows one to swing a bat. That's muscular. Transmit waves of excitation. That's nervous. Anchors and packages body organs is connective tissue. Cells may absorb, protect, and form filtering membranes, epithelium. Most involved in regulating body functions quickly, epithelium. Major function to contract, muscular. And most durable tissue is connective. Abundant non-living extracellular matrix. Remember that's remember where I talked about the matrix? I'm going to give you the page number here. That was in, got it yet? Anybody figured it out? Think of that movie. It's in connective tissue. The matrix is connective tissue, are made up of many different types of cells plus varying amounts of non-living substances. Page 94 in your book, and I'm sure it talks about it in the lab book. Maybe. Honestly, I don't see it. But I bet it's here. Yes. Page 42 in the lab book. Okay, forms nerves is nervous. Number 3, what are the type of epithelial tissues classified? Rewind this and go back over that because it's right there. Ciliated epithelium is simple columnar. It's for absorption and secretion. Transitional epithelium stretches like the urinary bladder and the urethra. Number 7. What is best suited area for friction? That's transitional. Propels substances across the surface. That is what we just said, which is simple columnar. Best suited for rapid diffusion, simple columnar. Tubules of the kidneys, simple cuboidal. Lines of respiratory tract, pseudostratified. Stretches, transitional. Lines of small large intestine, simple columnar. Lining the esophagus, pseudostratified. Lining the bladder, transitional. And alveolar sacs, can't say it, air sacs of lung, is simple squamous. Connective tissue, components of the matrix is glycoproteins and a large polysaccharide, which is substance, and then you have fibers which support with collagen, elastic, and reticular. What does it do? It wraps, holds, supports, and attaches. And so we went through that. Here's a few end of chapter questions. So you can get these at the end of the chapter. Can you see it? End of the chapter review questions. Which of the following would you expect to find in or on cells whose main function is absorption? It's microvilli. Adult cells types you might expect to have gap junctions include heart muscle. Heart muscle. Which of the following are possible functions of a glycoprotein and a plasma membrane? So blood groups, binding sites for toxins or bacteria, and aiding and binding of sperm to egg. A cell with abundant peroxisomes would most likely be involved in detoxification activities. A cell stimulated to increase its steroid production will have an abundant smooth ER. What's smooth ER? Does anybody remember what smooth ER is? that is the abbreviation for endoplasmic reticulum. I want to hurry because I'm almost out of time here. For diffusion to occur, there must be a concentration difference. Remember? Low concentration to high concentration. In which of the following tissue types might you find goblet cells? Simple, columnar. Which epithelium is built to withstand friction? That's stratified, squamous. What kind of connective tissue acts as a sponge soaking up fluid? Areola connective. What type of connective tissue prevents muscles from pulling away from bones? Dense connective. Which of the following terms describes cardiac muscle? Remember, it's striated. It's striated, and also it has gap junctions. Cancer is the same as all malignant neoplasms. So neoplasm is the other word for cancer. Okay, so the class will be getting that tomorrow, and you guys have it now. And lastly, I'm going to grab the quiz real quick. Okay. So make sure that you look at these specific areas. The structural and functional unit of all living things is, we've gone over this. The 3 basic parts of a cell, we've gone over that. Which is not a structural component of the nucleus. Okay? Sorry, I should be looking right here, but my camera's nutrient and ions can pass directly from cell to cell through special membrane junctions known as blank. Passive transport, diffusion, how does that happen? We've gone over that. A solution with fewer solutes is what? Remember, few. A molecule that carries amino acids to the ribosome is what? Correct order of phases of mitosis. We didn't cover that. But remember, in mitosis, look at the videos and look at the PowerPoint slides. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. You need to know a little bit about tRNA. Read about tRNA. Read what transcription and translation is, or be in that area. This one's kind of a little hard. So, the sequence of nitrogenous bases in one strand of DNA is GTA-GCA. The sequence of the complementary DNA strand would be. So look at that and see what it would be. Okay? What characteristic is shared by both cardiac and smooth muscle? Okay, is it voluntary or involuntary? What type of muscle found in the walls of hollow organs such as the stomach and the blood vessels? What is that known as? Talked about it. Presence of chondrocytes in the tissue. What is that? If you look in a microscope and it propels with the tail, we talked about that in the class. The example I gave was sperm. So that is what? Okay, then you're going to have some things you have to label. So we'll go over that in class. Make sure you look at these. But if you look at them, what is this over here? Looks like a cube, right? What is this over here? Looks, I can't point at it. It's a single strand. So make sure you look at the different type. Know if it's skeletal, cardiac, connective, or nervous. You guys are going to do great. Okay? All right. Well, I hope this helped. I hope you have a great weekend. You need to read, so start reading on your next chapter. And I will see you, not next week, I will see you the week after that. Thank you.